intro it?
Yeah, bro, you're just really charismatic with your intros, and I'm pretty fucking gay.
I am more charismatic. I watched your Accent Sledge one. It was, hey, I'm Sir Kyle.
Which one?
It's who I am. I am a... introduction
oh,
one. You know what I'm talking about. Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Iron Bros podcast. We're on episode number 14 today. It's getting cold here in New Jersey.
Brr.
All right, man. How have you been? It's been a little bit since saw you at Thanksgiving. We had some life events. What's going on?
Yeah, last time I saw you we had Friendsgiving. Man. Yeah.
That was
crammed 30 people like sardines in a house.
You crammed 30 people in your two-bedroom apartment.
2 in the den, okay, buddy?
I didn't think it was possible.
But yeah, so that was the last time I saw you. Then I took a trip. But let's start with your recap. Where have you been? What have you been up to last week?
Nothing much, to be honest. Nothing much besides enjoying my home and den. I've been we had Thanksgiving, but just been honestly in the love with training.
Okay.
Been going to different gyms. Been going to one of your old stomping grounds, which is an old school gym in Jersey.
How do you like Jersey Shore Fitness Shop?
I love it.
Really?
I want to give away a secret right now, but I can't because it will fuck me over about the gym.
Oh.
What I can say is the people there, it's just old people.
Yeah.
You just got 50 plus, and like 50 plus people, like 50 years of age or older, and all these people like definitely train their whole lives because they're serious about it too. So it's a good energy there, you know.
It's a good change of pace sometimes, right?
For sure. You know, I still come here to iron. I train here for back and legs, quads. But I think everything else, like I've been going there or different gyms.
Yeah, I always encourage people that have the luxury of different gyms that are around. I always have like certain body parts I like at certain gyms.
Yeah.
Just to kind of keep it all fresh. That way, sometimes when especially if you're in prep or something and you're coming in the same gym at the same time.
For sure.
Even if you're not a popular social media person, you start to just get caught up in like talking, how are things going? And it's just like, now I'm here to work out and now I'm here to socialize. It becomes a little convoluted. But yeah, no, it's a great gym. I haven't been there in some time.
We got to go back. We were trying to plan a workout, but something didn't work out.
Yeah, I'm ready to work out Monday. I don't know if you're ready.
Oh, you're coming Monday?
I don't know. I wasn't invited. Apparently,
you're invited right now.
What are you training?
Chest.
Some chest.
And shoulders.
Okay.
I was looking to do like the hammer strength incline. I was looking to do some shit.
What time are you training?
I like 2 meals and train probably around like 2:30.
2:30. I can see.
Chest.
All right. I think I can do it.
All right, man. I got to tell my friend Nick that we have a +1. Talk about more people when you work out. This is really the only recap I have with my life since I saw you because nothing really exciting happened besides Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I went to work out with Dave and Dylan.
Yes,
Dave mentioned he wants to be on the podcast. So, hey, guys, that's the new one. That's coming up soon, hopefully. But yeah, I went to go work out with Dave and Dylan, and we hit chest, actually. And when we were planning it, right, I was kind of anal about it because I've been so in tune with my training getting serious because prep's around the corner. 3 weeks away, guys. I asked them, I was like, hey, can we train at like 2:30? They kind of weren't replying. I was like, God damn it. I was like, come on. Because, number one, it was Thanksgiving holiday. It was the day after. So it was like everyone's home. If we go at peak times, the gym's going to be packed. And I'm not trying to have a shitty workout, you know?
Right.
So we agreed on 3:30. I was like, all right, that works, 3:30. Then the next issue is we had 4 people working out.
4?
Grant, me, Dylan, Dave. Yeah. And I'll be honest, usually when I work out with Dave, like he'll do like the first movement and he's kind of like, all right, I'm gonna dick around and do my own thing.
Yeah.
So at first I was getting scared. I was getting in my head. I was like, damn it, dude, like this is probably so slow. But then I was like, I can't think like that. If I think like that, it's gonna happen, you know? So when we met up to go work out, I was doing my typical thing, my pre-workout ritual, what I've been doing lately, and blasting No Sleep Till Brooklyn in the parking lot. They came out the car, laid it out. So I was like, we're hitting an old school chest workout today, like following my lead, and they did. And it ended up becoming a really good workout, especially for camera.
Together, same time?
Yeah, we did.
Cool.
It's very rare when you whip out a camera and you try to train with like other people. It's fucking rare to get a good workout. But it was cool. Dave kind of bounced off my energy. Grant knows what we've been doing, so that was easy. And Dill, literally, he was kind of like, I had to be like, yo, Dill, grab him, and be like, stop talking, come in, do your set. Or he'd be talking and be like, yo. But it was good. It was good.
How long is Dylan up here for?
I don't know when he leaves, but he's up here obviously for Thanksgiving and stuff.
Cool.
And Dill, yeah. He leaves today.
Oh.
So, no, that was it. That video should be coming out, or probably already out by this time this podcast is up. So, hope you guys enjoyed that.
Awesome.
What about you? That's really it for me. Nothing really.
How's that gym at Tillis? I haven't been there since COVID.
Yeah, you know what? I love the owner. He's awesome. He's a good guy. Yeah. The gym itself, I like it because it's grungy, it's older, right? Yeah. It has its mix of machines. I will say I've seen better machines that I personally like some good Nautilus stuff, that he doesn't have. Some of the things there are like a little wonkier, but what they had I made do, and it was really good. Like they had that I don't know, a side lateral raise machine. I thought it was gonna be kind of dick.
It was pretty good.
It was good. You just like bodybuilder Jay Cutler, you just fucking
crowded gym still.
It wasn't that crowded.
At 3:30.
What?
It wasn't bad mid afternoon.
I mean, probably got a little bit busier later on in the day.
Okay.
But it wasn't too bad at all. It was able to. There's only one time I had asked someone to ask for a machine, and Grant almost got us into a fight.
Fucking Grant.
So here's what happened. There's a guy in the tricep machine, right? Like that guy? No, he's not. He was the skinniest looking guy I've ever seen.
I mean, after like I went up to him before like all of you guys went into the locker room.
Yeah.
I was like, yo man, my bad about earlier.
Uh huh.
And he like had a stringer on. I was just like,
oh really?
He goes, yeah, national.
Oh yeah. Ooh, sorry. Fuck. Now he's gonna be watching this shit. But anyway, here's the story. Should I tell you the story for the video or no?
Yeah. So what did Grant do?
So we wanted to use the tricep push-down machine for chest, right? You lock into that
dip
machine. The dip machine.
Okay, yeah.
And I saw a guy on it. So whenever I see a person on the machine, I'm not going to stand right in front and stare at you while you're doing your set to piss you off because I know it bothers me.
Okay.
So I started like nonchalantly walking there, kind of looking around. Like it's definitely noticeable. Like I'm going to ask you when you're done with your set, but I'm not putting pressure on you. So I do that. He finishes his set there, but then goes right into his preacher curls. Oh, no. I messed that up. I knew he was supersetting preacher curls, which was next to it, in the tricep machine. And after the tricep machine, he walked the opposite direction, just like away. So I was like, all right, I analyzed it. I was like, he either noticed me and doesn't want to be bothered, so he's just leaving, but I still want to have the courtesy to ask him, are you done? So he doesn't get pissed off if that wasn't the case,
Did he take his weight off the machine?
No, he just walked away. So I was like, hey, bro. And like, he heard me slightly where he like turned his head or like took an AirPod out or something. And I said like, hey, bro, are you done with your machine? And like, he didn't reply. So then Grant goes, are you done with your machine? With attitude. and I literally put my hand out like, yo, Grant, like chill. And then Grant goes, I'm not fucking chilling. I was like, oh, God.
What did the guy say at this point?
The guy goes, like, what? Excuse me? Because he noticed the attitude.
Yeah.
And then he just like nodded off like fuck, like go ahead. But you could tell he was pissed because he went to his two boys after and started talking. I was like, oh, I don't like this. I was like, I don't like it.
Oh, okay. Hattie Grant doing his thing.
So anyway, that's pretty much my recap. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
You had an interesting one, I think, or more detailed or than mine.
I guess amongst your
Time training at home in New Jersey.
Yeah, and
You
doing
were?
nothing. I went to Pittsburgh.
Doing nothing?
No, you.
Me
You were
too.
like doing nothing at the house. You were just chilling, relaxing, recovering, and training. That's what you were doing.
That takes work.
Okay. So while you were home in Jersey, I was fortunate enough to go to Pittsburgh. I went there on Monday morning last week, and Anton, one of my clients, met me out there. And the reason we went out there were a few reasons. One was for Axton Sledge, right? So I believe many that probably watch the podcast are aware that, I was fortunate enough to sign with Axton Sledge, as was Anton.
Wow, look at that.
So that company, I'm very selective with, I guess, when I try to be representing a brand in terms of what they promote and what ingredients they have. You know, a lot of the times I've used products in the past from other companies, and it's not what they say they are. So for me, you know, Action Sledge has been around for numerous years now. I've used them back in the day when I used to just, before online sales were a thing, Jersey Store Supplements always carried them. So I've kind of, over the last year, 2 years with Seth, we've had numerous conversations. And as I kind of mentioned, I think in the release video, a lot of it was cut out, but, you know, never once was it like, oh, you have to join the brand, or like, come on, what do we have to do? It was more really organic, to where it's very few companies at this point would I even consider partnering with, just from being a coach perspective. So they have to have a health line, they have to have supplements, and then ultimately the shit has to work, right?
Yeah.
So if people are getting blood work and they're taking these health subs and it doesn't look like they are, and then they use another company and there's a big difference, it's like, all right, cool, this company could be whatever they are rep wise, but their products suck, right? And
Gotcha.
unfortunately there's a lot out there. So with Action Sledge, yeah, you know, I went out there in the warehouse. It was pretty fantastic, man. They have a ton of products, ton of cool apparel now. You know, so you actually have some on, yeah. So
You're
it's
a hard-working MF.
yes. So everything is Seth represents, you know, talking to him in person, I could just relate. It was very relatable, and I think that means well when you can just kind of get along with somebody, not even from a business perspective, but just as a person. That was super helpful. And then Anton, right? So Action Sledge, like I said, they're trying to get. They're adapting with the times, right? A lot of older companies kind of keep doing what worked 10 years ago, but that's not going to work moving forward.
Yeah.
So they were looking to get a young athlete on the brand, and you know, just I knew I have a lot of young athletes, to say the least, that are maybe looking for different brands, and Anton came to mind, and they had a conversation, and Seth was about it. You know, Anton is going to be a good bodybuilder, so came out there, and then he signed on too, so that was cool. And then from there, we had the chance to pose with the Manions and Gary. So
Is Gary Gary Udit?
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So those are not familiar, Gary runs many of the popular shows in Pennsylvania, mainly the Pittsburgh Pro North Americans. Those are all his shows. So those are always seamlessly run, and that's just how he is, man. He's very old school in terms of like hard nose, in terms of when you're posing, if you mess something up, do it again. Right? It's just like very old school demeanor. It gives me like a head coach vibe type thing, right? But yeah, so Anton, we got to check out the location. It's like a NPC's private gym. You probably see videos and stuff. So they have tons of cool equipment. A lot of the companies are sending their equipment there to be featured in videos when they have people come there. But it was pretty nostalgic to see. They had a lot of stuff on the memorabilia on the wall. It was cool. And
What was the coolest thing you saw on the wall?
I mean, just autographs of different athletes. They had pictures like just from the old muscle magazines that are no longer a thing now. Muscular Development actually shut down, if you noticed, 2 weeks ago.
Really?
That was the last one around. What happened?
Was that the YouTube channel I was on?
Muscular Development. They would always do some recaps
Muscle
of
and
stuff.
Strength I was on.
Yeah, it was Muscle and Strength. That's different. But Muscular Development was the last magazine around. They're gone now, unfortunately. But yeah, it was pretty just cool, man, to say the least, right? So we had the opportunity. So Tyler was there, Jim was there, and then Gary. And Anton had the opportunity to pose in front of all of them, right? So that's not something that to be taken lightly. I mean, that's a lot of respect. I mean, they don't waste their time. And Anton, he showed up and showed out for sure. You know, they were definitely happy with how he looks. He's 19, right? So
yeah, I'm sure people are curious. What did they say about him? I mean, you got the head judge, one of the top judges there.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely amazed that he's only 19 years of age. He carries a lot of dense muscle for his age. And then as far as with his posing, that's where he could use the most improvement. Just conditioning with his poses. I think it was a little bit of a nerves thing.
Conditioning as in like holding it longer?
Yeah, being able to hold the poses and the breathing, you know, is very important. Just because you can get in a pose for 2 seconds,
you got to maintain
you got to hold it. And then if you're being compared, moving around, it could become very tiresome. So those that are competing, and as I mentioned, a variable that you can control no matter how good you look is your posing.
Yeah.
At least be able to pose, you know? So they gave him some critiques, certain shots that they thought he could tweak a little bit, getting into his poses quicker.
What were his best shot? What was his ones that need the most work?
I would say that need the most work. His quarter turns, in terms of those side quarters, just making sure his chest stays profound, stays up, And then his back double, just some tweaking that we did with his feet, right? I presented it the normal way he does, and then I said, like, what do you guys think of this? Changed it, and they're like, that's better. So now it's just breaking the habit that he has when he does his check-ins. He always poses a certain way. Now
got to make sure he changes that now, yeah. So I'm familiar with his back double. I think he keeps his feet close, right?
Keeps his feet a little bit close.
So you guys change it to more of like a...
I wanted his right foot, so that's his back foot, the foot closer to the the judges and the camera. He always points it to about a 3 o'clock almost.
To 3 o'clock?
Like 2:30, 3 o'clock. So that right foot,
I point mine towards like 7. Like my heel? Oh, no, you're talking about the toe.
Your back foot.
Yeah.
If it was your right foot, you put your left back or your right back?
My right back.
Okay, so the toes.
The toes. Yeah, mine's pointed at about...
Probably 130.
Okay.
Right? Go
yeah,
1.
It's more straight.
His is big time the opposite of yours.
Okay.
You lose your adductor when you do that.
Yes.
Right? So if you don't have a good quad sweep, the more you kind of rotate that foot out, right, external rotation of the knee, you'll see more sweep.
Quad, yeah.
But for him, he has a good sweep, right? And he was actually losing adductor when he didn't do that. So it's just naturally ingrained in him. So every time thereafter, he'll send me pictures. He sent me pictures yesterday. He called me right away, hey, I know I messed up the back pose. Like, I'll fix it.
That's so funny because I've seen like me critiquing someone's posing, and I tell them, I'm like, dude, like now that I told you this is the right way, when you do your check-ins that you do every single day, you have to do it this way. You have to break that habit because if you don't, you're just, it's doing
tough.
the same
so
thing.
I would say, again, he's an amateur right now, but being in front of the number one judges that just came off judging the Olympia, they're expecting you to be polished. Whether you're an amateur or not, your posing should be polished. So aside from just some critiques, like I said, with the overall presentation, it was more so the speed in which you get into the poses.
He was slow, you said?
You just they want you fast. Be the first one in the poses. Like they call the pose in it as fast as you can. Forget all the pretty transitions. Just hit the pose and hold the pose.
That's what I've always thought. If I remember my last show, which you maybe don't know this, but when I was on stage, I always try to be the first one to literally be in that pose to set up. So number one, I don't have someone else bumping into me, and number two, they always see me first.
For
that
sure.
Was my
and then it was just like I said, so it was a great experience and opportunity. I never had the opportunity to really talk to them, like not post-show or right before a show. So just general questions like I asked from a coaching perspective is you see it a lot on the Olympia level, but you also see in the amateur circuit to where, let's just say you're doing a back double and you bump each other. Or even in your case, you competed, you did a shot and the guy kind of bumped you. I said, so how do you feel about that? Like, what should I have my athletes do? Take a step closer to you? Take a step further away? Right? I know they should look at each other and be ready to fucking throw down. Yeah. And he said, honestly, just like take a step away. He's like, we're going to still see the person. It's fine. And he's like, if you do the opposite, which you see people do, Big Steve is going to get back on the line. He gets pissed off.
So he's saying take a step towards the line.
Take a step away from forward, not closer to them, but away.
Yes. So
because most people are trying to get as close to each other as possible because the closer you get, the bigger you look.
That's like honestly, like, if we didn't have this discussion and like the world doesn't know this now, the world of a couple thousand viewers, that's like my thought process was so many people do what is worse. They go closer to them and then they get yelled at. They bump elbows. So why not be the good boy on stage?
Yeah. Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not supposed to happen. Sometimes the spacing because of the expediters, they might not tell you to stand in the right spot.
Yeah.
But you also have some people out there that I don't know, they think it's like a different they take it for what it's not, right? This isn't like football, basketball, you need some contact. You're standing on stage in a man-thong, right? So you don't need to be bumping each other or trying to show each other up. Just present what you have, what you worked hard for. So that was a good opportunity.
I got more questions about it. I'm just curious.
Yeah, go shoot.
Did they say like strongest point is this on your physique? You got to bring up this.
Overall, what he needs to continue to bring up, just some more chest as his upper body continues to get bigger. He wasn't imbalanced by any means. His legs are impressive for sure. And the amount of muscle he carries at being 19, that was like the biggest takeaway. Is like, hey, like you are way ahead of people for your age. And then conditioning, like I already knew the answer, but I'm like, oh, what do you guys think is conditioning? And they're like, he's spot on. Like he's where he needs to be.
Yeah.
So, and we already knew that, like I said, because we're coming out of a show already. It's like we're just coming into one. So, yeah, ultimately, the reason we were there, just to also mention to the viewers, Anton is now 2 weeks out of nationals. This would be his fourth show, I guess, technically, because we had 2 on back-to-back days.
you did a regional, right? A regional, summer sharding to qualify, summer sharding championship, and now this will be the 4th.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, 2 weeks out. As of this video, he'll be 10 days out. But we can throw up some pictures of, you know,
can you show me them?
Week. Did we what?
Can you show me them while you throw them up on screen?
Yeah, if you're not showing any. If you didn't see any.
And then I'll ask this question for you now, because I am just curious. But, like, what was your approach with Anton, right? Because he wanted to do these shows before, and I'm sure the end goal was nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you end up doing to peak him for the first show? And then a week later, the second and third show. And then now 6 weeks later, nationals. I guess just take your time.
Yeah, hold on. I don't know why it's loading like this. This is weird.
If you okay, you got it. That's weird.
So these are check-ins from yesterday.
Damn.
Technically, right?
He's big.
So
Looks really wide
very
up top.
much, very sharp. You know.
Yeah. Go back to that last one. Go back. I want to see some. Yeah.
All right. See, the foot's not where it should be, right?
Let me see. I want to see. Let's see the angle.
So let me show from the days prior. Even just the slightest rotation. So you see where his foot is, right?
His foot's very pointed out. To
Very
like
pointed. Like I said, like
3,
3 o'clock almost, right? Not much here, right? He's trying to exaggerate to get more sweep, but he doesn't need to do that because he has a good sweep. So even in a slight change here,
Yeah, look at that.
and that's just a very slight manipulation, right? He could still be a little bit better where you get more adductor, but he was missing a lot of his lower half. It's still a great shot overall, but again, we're being picky because we need to be picky at this point because we want every
You want
boost we
every
can get.
percent. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That looks sick.
and then one of his really good shots is I'd say his favorite classical shot's a pretty top level shot, I think. you know?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Makes me excited to prep.
Yeah, so he should do really well. And yeah, the biggest takeaway is just get into your poses fast. And don't be moving around. If you need to reset quickly, get back in the pose.
Yeah.
Don't be having 10 variations of the same pose, and be confident, right? Smile. That's the main thing. So just practice makes perfect. So anybody out there that is getting ready for a show or has desires and aspirations to get ready for a show, I don't think you could ever start practicing your posing too early.
No.
And then as far as something else that I think a lot of people fall victim to is trying to take the opinions of other people. He had mentioned,
Anton?
that he had posed with someone else prior. And at the end of the day, Gary said a very important thing. He said, why don't you stop trying to copy other people and let them copy you? Very big takeaway that I think other people should try to keep in the back of their mind is instead of always looking at who you can be to pose like, they're posing that way because it works for them. You saw it this past year with Roman Dino, right?
Oh, Ramon, yeah.
Yeah, Ramon, sorry. He was trying to pose more like Chris.
Yes. I saw this.
He's not going to compete with Chris. Yeah, I think Tyler mentioned it in his feedback video.
Yes, in the favorite classical poses, he was copying Chris.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why he did, because in the year prior to the Olympia, they built it back to the biceps. It was like really famous. People were like, "Yo, look sick, look sick, look sick."
Yeah.
But once again, Ramon copied Chris there, and Chris is just superior in that pose and looked better. So right then and there, he just went. He lost that pose.
Yeah, exactly. That's Chris's pose. Don't copy Chris. Get your own pose so people look at it like, I want to copy you.
Because especially in that pose too, you could favorite classical pose, whatever looks the meanest, baddest, biggest classic, like most classic, you'll win that pose.
Exactly.
So it's like if he's going to twist it back to the bind, and Ramon has, I don't know, the crazy abs, he can do some crazy shit or something.
Yeah. So that's the biggest takeaway there. So yeah, Nationals coming up in less than 2 weeks for Anton.
So I asked you about the diet. Before you get into that,
Yeah.
Jesse messaged me about Anton yesterday.
Okay.
He goes, if Anton wins, is he the youngest pro? And I was like, in the league, yeah, because I don't know if he was referring to like the record I was trying to beat, which was Jeff Side's record. Yeah. But no, he would be the youngest in the division now, IFBB league. So that'd be exciting.
That'd be really cool.
2 weeks, we'll figure that out.
That'd be really exciting. So yeah, as far as where he's currently at, you good?
My knee, I'm trying to like extend my leg. Yeah.
Oh man, you having those pains already?
No.
God bless
my knee's
you.
still good. I just hit legs yesterday. Go ahead.
So I think where we have him is in an excellent spot, right? At this point, it's just very, very fine-tuning, more so, again, just being on top of his posing and just being a creature of habit. So when we stayed in the Airbnb together, so I pretty much could watch a lot of his moves.
Yeah.
Cutting out little things like diet soda or whatnot. Those are all little things that add up at the end. Those inches add up to feet to miles in the grand scheme of things.
You're so good with, like,
So
those metaphors. Was that a metaphor? The saying?
switching gears, talking about Anton's diet now, right? So going to that first show, so it's been about 4.5 to 5 weeks since his last show.
Yep.
If we talk about his diet going into the first one, for those that didn't see Anton, he was in fantastic shape for the first couple shows, did really well. You asked the question earlier, well, what did you change back-to-back shows in terms of peaking? And it was more so just how I gave him food. I believe the first show, I'd have to double-check to be specific, I cut his water a little bit more aggressively than I did going into the second show because I knew the second show he has back-to-back days he has to be ready for. I don't want to not have him have water for 2 to 3 days, so I kept it a little higher, and ultimately he looked even better with that. So we kept him at the same weight from waking up. Usually what I try to gauge and what I think people should try to gauge, whether they coach themselves or even all the coaches out there, is you find out what the best look is. If you are ready where you should be 2 weeks out, 1 week out, you want to see, okay, this person at their flattest, this is their state, this is what their weight is at their flattest, this is kind of how they look, and then at their fullest. And you start to be able to play with, okay, let's just say, I think for him, for his first show, it was like a 191 or something like that. Was him all-time full, like full as a house. 186, pretty flat. So I knew, okay, I said, we're going to try to wake you up around 187, 188 come show day after we're controlling water. So I know your water intake's not high. And ultimately, that's where we kind of were for the first show. And the second show, I think I had him about a pound heavier, so a little bit more fuller. But as far as what changed from that first show into the second show, I pretty much had his base diet. I would just give him higher days leading up to it. And it was just a matter of when I started. So I think from the first show to the second show.
Which is a week away, or a week apart, right?
It was a week apart, yeah. So as far as how hard his diet was going to that first show, he went as low as about 125 to 150 grams of carbs on a training day. All right, about half of that probably on an off day. Between the first show and the second show, on those depletion days, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, something like that, I had him a little bit higher, right? So maybe 200, 225 grams of carbs instead of the 100 to 150-ish.
Yep.
And then as soon as that first show was over, the first series of shows were over in those back-to-back 7-day time span, I immediately put his calories up probably by about 500 calories. So his training days were 350, 400 grams of carbs. I removed cardio altogether. And the reason for that, Anton he has a very good metabolism, to say the least, right? He doesn't need to be at zero carb. He's in fantastic shape. And being that, there's always a takeaway I try to have with an athlete after a show to where, hey, where can we be better? What can be different? And sometimes it's like, hey, we just need more muscle. Everything was like, good, you just need time. For Anton, we have our sights set on a bigger show. So every show we did was like a stepping stone. And now, hey, this is like the grand finale here. We need to be the best we can possibly be. He's so lean and stage ready that if I kept him in that exact condition the entire time, I feel his body be a little burnt out.
Yeah.
Right? So not even talk about the mental component we can get into in a second, but just from a physical standpoint, you cannot maintain that level of leanness for 6 to 10 weeks. It's just not going to be ideal. So when we remove cardio, and I noticed when I got him super, super lean for those first 2 shows, he lost a little bit in his legs just from like pushing cardio. Yeah, and I think I had him up to about 45, 50 minutes of cardio a day. I don't think I went more than that. I can like do a double check real quick while we're talking here. But ultimately, I had removed cardio for about 3.5 weeks. He got all the way up to...
That's nice in a prep.
I think 200 pounds he was hitting in the morning. I was like, all right, now we got to kind of
pull back.
Start to pull back a little bit. So just last week, I put cardio back in. I'd known that we were going to make this trip. So I said, hey, we need to make sure we're on point. You're not going to be getting refeeds 2 days prior to where you're all full. I want you kind of looking how you normally should look. Somewhat a little flat, but detailed. When we went to see the Manions, right, he was probably about 197, 198 that morning. So definitely a little bit more watery. So I knew he was even sharper. So if they would be impressed with his conditioning, I know he's where he needs to be. And then since the Manions, he's dropped 4 pounds. So now I know like there's not much water on his frame. And I think he came off a flight the day before, probably a little nervous, you know. So that all kind of compounded to have a little bit more water to his physique. But as far as where things were now, so again, we gave the body a little bit of rest. His workouts, I told him to really scale back on, right? Because that's where I think you don't need to work harder, especially when you're there. You're just trying to maintain. Just get in, get out. Try to get some blood flow, get some sarcoplasmic volume back, especially that's what you lose during a show typically.
Hyper what?
Sarcoplasmic volume, right? So that's going to be how much water is in your muscles, okay? So usually when you're training or your goal is to deplete the muscle of glycogen, sometimes it's not necessarily losing muscle. You're just losing the size to the muscle, the fullness to the muscle, to where you're still, hey, my strength is still the same, but I just don't look the same. Just like when you're flat. You didn't lose muscle. You're just not, there's nothing to it. So there's no pop to it anymore. So sometimes the only thing that gets that back is food and time, right? And that's where higher reps or something like that, and when I would say higher, more than 8 reps, time under tension, stuff like that, a lot of blood flow, maximizing blood flow is what's going to swell the muscle a little bit. So that was the goal over the 4 weeks, to say, hey, let's give your legs a rest, see if we can get them back. Even to date, when he trains quads, he'll be sore for 5-6 days. And I'm like, hey, that's a little too much. So now we're really just scaling back, doing as minimal as possible to preserve the muscle we have and not do destruction. Because though for him, for most people, maybe his calories aren't low anymore, he's not in a state in which it's enough to recover, right? So it's just like you have to find that fine line to where, hey, I'm not training too hard, to where I'm causing all this inflammation. And then the other fine line of I'm not training hard enough at all, and now I'm actually going to gain body fat, you know? So as far as where he's currently at this time, we're speaking not when the video's released, so it'll be 10 days out, but 2 weeks out. If I compare his diet 2 weeks out to those first shows, 2 weeks out to this show, his food is double what it was.
It's doubled right now.
Yeah, so his training days are about 300 grams of carbs versus.
Oh, when you say double, you just mean carbs, yeah.
Yeah, protein's about the same. Fats are maybe a little higher, but from a carbohydrate standpoint, they're about double where they were. And yeah, we pretty much have him where I need him to be. He doesn't need to lose any more weight. I just kind of need to ride everything in and just stay fresh. So that's kind of the standpoint from a physical standpoint. That is where things are at.
Want to give you props because I don't know if people know the history of Anton, but I'm gonna bring it up. Last year he competed his first show, right, Easterns, and just didn't look like how he looks or looked prior or to now.
We'll put up I'll probably put a transformation post, so by the time this video comes out, people might see it. But in just an 11-month span, I think he was low 170s, mid 170s on stage, and he's at least 16 pounds heavier now, and he looks 16 pounds heavier, right? Because again, the scale isn't the end-all be-all. You always want to be looked at where people say, wow, that's all you weigh. You look like you weigh more. That's the ultimate goal. But for him, yeah, if you look at his look last November, I think he did Easterns in 2022.
Correct.
To these last few shows that we've seen, and now this final product that we'll see at Nationals, you would think it's 2 or 3 years of progress for sure, without a doubt. Yeah.
It's awesome.
So that's it from a physical standpoint. From a mental standpoint, I think is a great asset of being with an athlete closer to a show, or at least having a good relationship, is you can kind of get a feeler of where they're at mentally. Usually the better you look, the worse you feel.
Yeah.
And sometimes that comes with an attitude or ups and downs throughout the day.
Did he give you an attitude in the Airbnb?
No, so he's always, not many athletes, I don't really fight with anyone, right? Because I think that would be detrimental if we're fighting. We might not see eye to eye on certain things with certain athletes, but ultimately the goal is you want to win, right? So if he loses, I lose, right? That's always, and that's what I say to you, is we're only as good as the reward, and sometimes the reward we're looking for is it's out of our control too, but at least we can do all the other little things that will hopefully add up and make a difference.
I've never heard you say we're only as good as the reward or something like that.
I'm saying as far as the prep being successful or not, we on one sense we're prepping to what? Win, right?
Yeah.
You want to win. So from a reward standpoint, you either won or you lost, very black and white, right? Now, the main takeaway is also you don't control who shows up. So you could be your all-time best and smoke your last one. At the end of the day, on paper, we didn't get
but
what we
you
wanted.
improved and you guys did the job.
Yeah. So
you just can't control who shows up.
Where he stands right now, Anton is just focused on, hey, if I don't win, I already won shows. I know I already look better than I did last time around.
So it's already a win.
So it's a win in that regard, but now we're looking past that to say, okay, like, we need to win. We lose this game, then we lost, right? But with that, I think where he's at, there's some pressure being 19.
For sure.
His social media has tripled since 6-7 weeks ago.
Yep.
And he has a big spotlight. But it didn't seem like he was egotistical by any means. He really has his head on straight. And the main thing is, and Seth also reminded him, is he kept saying, like, keep your blinders on. Like, you have certain people you listen to, and that's it. You're going to get a ton of people. When you become successful in something, people are always going, oh, try this, try.
Yeah.
Honestly, shut the fuck up.
I don't need your advice. I got here without it. I'm good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So more and more people are always going to gravitate, try to kind of get the limelight a little bit. And he'll see that with posing. Oh, let me help you pose. And that's why, like I mentioned, let people copy you.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're doing the right thing, is when people start copying you, whether that's a prep series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or how you dress, whatever it may be. When people start copying you, you know you're onto something.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone here, everyone listening, at some point has looked up to people and tried to emulate them. And usually it works okay, but what makes that person become really good? They did their own thing. So it might be a spin-off, but you have to, at some point, just do your own thing.
Yeah.
So it was just a constant reminder for him to keep your blinders on. Seth mentioned it, and I think Seth speaks from a place where he was a really successful bodybuilder. He was good, right? He's made certain mistakes.
What were his best placings, you know?
I don't know his exact placings.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's been at the top of the top, right?
Yeah.
He
turned pro, and it was really hard to turn pro.
Yeah, and he was a good bodybuilder. He's a good physique, right? So where I think even Seth today, like, that'd be a very good physique. Where sometimes you look at older bodybuilders and you wonder how they would fare today. He's someone that he could do it. If he wanted to, he could still do very well. But, yeah, so from a mental standpoint, 2 weeks out for Anton, I noticed after that first show, there's highs and lows, right? You have the ultimate high. You won your regional. Then you won Summer Shred, and you get a nice little paycheck. Shit, 6 more weeks. And it's just like, even though, now you have a spotlight on you, it becomes a little draining, a little taxing. He's trying to do the social media thing, and that's where I think for you, like, what is your input? Because you've been at places where you did a regional, you won.
Yep.
And then you got to prep for 7 weeks, I think, to Universe or something from Atlantic States, right? How is that?
So, great. Yeah, I want to talk about that. I remember that whole entire prep, we did that. We won Atlantic States, and then Universe was 4 weeks away. And I remember after winning, it was a great high, happy, prideful, just absorbing it all. Then it was motivating, right? Went back to work, put my head down. But then I remember those times when you're alone at night or whatever it is, and you're kind of thinking about the next upcoming show, or am I doing everything right? Like, you're in your head a lot. And it actually got really hard, for me at least. I remember it was definitely hard when it prolonged to the prep. So that's my experience with that. That was the first. We only did that one time. Mm-hmm. But I think we're doing that again this upcoming time.
Yeah.
I think we have, 6? Is it 4? No, we have like 6 weeks after. Something like that, a couple weeks after.
5 or 6.
I'm sure with more food and whatever happens to me, I'll be all right because I've already experienced it. But yeah, definitely we had the prep series going on that time, and it was actually killing it. So it was hard. Definitely wasn't easy by all means. Mentally, it was very hard. Yeah, I'm just thinking back to that now. Wow.
Anything else?
No, that's
no. So I think it's very valuable input because you're someone that is young. You were his age when you're competing and doing
19,
these shows.
Yeah, that same thing.
So it's definitely not easy for anyone that is prepping. I think, and also one big takeaway from his trip, he said it a few times to me, Anton. He said, I feel like myself again. Like, I found what I was missing, right? So coming out here, being around you guys, like, really helped me. Like, I can lock back in now. And that's not to say he wasn't following the plan, but again, it's maybe more diet sodas. I gave him some free meals here and there. So
is he saying he misses up here more? Like,
no, he didn't feel like he had the drive. He needed a little confidence boost, perhaps the motivation to continue, because he was at a point where, like, I'm just tired of prepping. Like, I've been prepping for a long time. Like, when
you're around people like you, Seth, and then the Manions, it's motivating.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it was really cool to see that. And then now, when you have someone in shape, or when someone's in shape, it's a little easier because sometimes the mental barrier, if you're not in shape and you're behind,
Yeah, it's
hard. It's just like,
harder.
hey, like you're behind. Like we don't have time to have an off day here. We gotta
you
be
gotta
on
be
point.
good, yeah.
But now it's just navigating those feelings and thoughts. The body dysmorphia, something I think is super prevalent, right? To where people sometimes just don't think they look the best. And then you look back at prep pictures. I think anyone who ever competes, if you haven't competed, it's hard to put yourself in the shoes. But once you do compete, you'll take a look at pictures you take. And I think even back in Florida, you would take pictures of me. I look at them, I didn't post them, they suck. And then I'll look back and I'm like, God damn it, these are pretty good. I don't know why I didn't post them, right?
Yep, same.
So it happens all the time. So that's where he's at, to where he'll look at pictures even a week ago. Oh, I'm watery. I don't like how I look. And it's just like,
But here's the thing: many people don't even look even close to you.
exactly.
So like, the world wants to see you.
Yeah.
Post it. Yeah, that's something I told myself after last prep. Like, all right, next time I prep, like once I know like I'm in shape and I'm starting to have that like freak factor that no one else looks like, just post whatever.
Yeah.
'Cause I have a bunch of photos from last prep I never posted.
So I think that's the main thing, is don't be afraid to share your progress, your excitement. And if you have the right people giving you criticism, I think that's helpful. And that's different from trying to just get content at a gym and doing things for content purposes. But if you have the pictures because you are prepping, you take your check-in pictures, or you're in the gym, you look good, you get a couple photos, don't be afraid to like share them, because you'll look back one day and ultimately wish you did. So that's where he's at as far as that from a body dysmorphia standpoint. So yeah, on a day-to-day basis now, I'm just checking in with him, making sure mentally he's good, he understands the goal at hand for the day, and we take things one day at a time. So that's it.
Well, listen, man, I'm excited for you both as you drip water on yourself. I asked you about dieting, right? And obviously in bodybuilding, there's more of a taboo subject that a lot of people are curious on. Could you get into what a 19-year-old takes when he competes? I mean, gosh, a 16-week prep and then shows lined up afterwards in terms of how you're trying to make him obviously look the best.
Yeah.
But trying to keep him as healthy as possible.
So I think the main thing with anyone, and even with yourself, right, we try to say, okay, what is the ultimate goal? Mm-hmm. What is the date of that ultimate goal, so we're aware. And along the way, we know what we need to do from a nutritional standpoint to at least be promoting fat loss and have our body moving along. Now, when you get some help from supplements, there's a time and a place to put things in. Sure, can you put anything in at 16 weeks out? Yeah, but at what point do you realize, like, hey, this is now going to compromise my health markers, and this is just not overall going to lead to longevity in bodybuilding and life. So because of that, we had originally we had planned to put some cutters in at 8 weeks out, okay? The
Cutters
first,
as in like an oral thing? Like
some both, injectable orals, right? Some mild hardeners.
Like a prep.
More like prep-like drug. We were going to put it 8 weeks out. But the thing is, that's why I laugh. I think I saw someone make a comment like, oh, he must be taking a trend, right? Yeah. Our first show we were supposed to do was East Coast and Easterns.
Yeah.
Right? We decided to move that timeline up. For the first time, 3 weeks for summer shredding. The second time, 4 weeks.
Damn.
So going to that first show, we had just put hardeners in 3 or 4 weeks out. So, you know, again, to make sure that for nationals, we would have under a 10-week span of using something that I think is more potent, that shouldn't be used for more than 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
From that first show, from the series of those first couple shows, we had, like I mentioned, a 6-week break before that and nationals. There are cutters I pulled all the way out again for another 2 weeks. I just recently put them in about 10 days ago. When this podcast goes out, maybe
2 weeks,
16 days, 15, 16 days.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I know he's pretty healthy, as healthy as he's going to be for someone that is in prep looking that way. And again, a little bit goes a long way. So I think sometimes people don't realize that the key variable here is how consistent someone can be with what they're doing, how hard they're really working. Not just showing up in the gym, but actually putting in the effort daily with the nutrition and with the training. And then you sprinkle in a little bit of supplements, and then the main variable is genetics. His mom and dad are to thank for some of how he looks.
Yeah.
His work ethic, his consistency and dedication, again, that's all him. He has to do that. His homework posing, that's going to be all him. No one could do it for him. But genetics play a role in terms of how you respond when you put certain supplements in.
Yep.
And then ultimately, how much muscle he can retain at such a young age. Most people cannot get the way he looks. So it doesn't matter what he's taking. He looks the way he looks because of years thus far of training, coupled with his genetics to be able to hold this muscle, you know? So I'll be an advocate to use as little as possible. There are some people, you know, there's no Olympian that's not taking a good amount of things typically, because at that level, to be 220 pounds or more, looking the way people think freaks look, it comes with a toll.
Yeah.
At 19, anyone under 25, really, you don't need to be cranking everything under the sun, because where do you go from there?
Yeah.
If we had to do everything in the world with him, where do we go next? Because at some point, we start compromising what's most important, and I think that's like life after bodybuilding. At some point, you have to think of, hey, what do the next 40 years of my life look like?
Yeah.
Bodybuilding is very short-lived, so that's why, as a coach, I see what I have him using. I see how he looks. I know there's levels to where he can go because of the availability of things that we didn't even touch. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the main thing that a lot of people miss out on. You can take anything. It's not going to – they're performance-enhancing drugs, not performance-replacing drugs. So his effort and his intensity is going to always supersede anything else. It allows you to have more food typically. If you train your ass off and you're doing your cardio like a workout, or, you know, doing what you're supposed to do on a daily basis, not being lazy, yeah, typically you could eat more, you know? Now, as far as how much, your metabolic rate, that's all more hereditary, some of it, your body type, things like that, but you can make a change. And again, it's just, you want to play the hand you're dealt. Some people are dealt a fantastic set of cards, but then they don't put the effort in. That person will always lose to someone that has mediocre genetics, but is like relentless, and they will do everything they can. Sparkle in the right supplements, they can keep up for sure, you know? So
I hear what you're saying. Appreciate it. Appreciate you sharing that.
yeah.
Honestly, I think this is a pretty solid episode as it is. You want to wrap it up here, or do you want to?
Yeah, I think it'd be important to, you know, for those of you guys that have competed, you know, comment below what has been hard for you, what's been difficult, and perhaps things you look back, regardless of your experience and your age, that you wish you would have done differently, or why you think it was maybe something that you should have done differently. And if you have any questions, you know, you can pop them in there. We'll try to do our best to maybe respond back or touch on them in a future episode. And I think also for people that maybe are thinking about competing that haven't, what they think might be hard, right? Because like I said, sometimes if you don't experience it, it's hard to talk about it, but perhaps there's reasons that they didn't want to compete and they're scared or something. So if you could pop those comments in, that'd be really helpful. And we always encourage everyone to just share your insight, what you like, what you don't like. If you hate something that we're doing, just mention it, and we'll try to do our best to.
Dude, there should be
consider
5,000 comments on this video, because we listed every one of you, if you have competed or have not. So therefore, there should be a shit ton of comments and a lot of engagement on this video, and that's all I have to say to end this podcast. So, on that note, here's the outro. Thank you guys for watching episode number 14 on the Iron Bros podcast. My name is Ant.
Sir Kyle.
And you want to do the Kyle? You can use code SIR on Accent Sledge, code ANT on Young LA, and code Grant on Young LA, and code Kyle.
You're gonna mess that one up too
on Young LA.
So what Ant was trying to say is, moving forward, I'm now at Accent Sledge. For any of you trying to maybe dabble with some of their supplements or even apparel, you can use code SIR at checkout. Feel free to DM me any questions. And then for Young LA, at this point, the Black Friday sale is over. However, there is a drop coming up in December. So to support any of us, you could use code GRANT, code ANT, or code SIR at checkout.
Dude, that was an epic episode.
Over and out.